Hey students, my name is Matt. Welcome to week 4 of our spring semester of LifeGroups. God has been doing some incredible things through LifeGroups this year, and I hope that you know that you are a part of something special that God is doing right here through our church and at your campus. This semester, we have been connecting what we've been learning at LifeGroups to what we also are learning during weekend services. And we've been studying a small part of something called the Sermon on the Mount. This is pulled from the beginning of one of the most detailed accounts of Jesus' teachings, and it's found in the book of Matthew, which is part of what part of the Bible? Y'all know this? What part of the Bible is Matthew? The New Testament. Good job. And the New Testament is in the second half of the Bible, and that's also where our memory verse is found. It can be found in Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, which says this: God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. If y'all remember, the part of the Sermon on the Mount that we have been studying is called the Beatitudes. It is found specifically in Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 12. And simply, this is just a list of ways for us to live that Jesus says are worthy of God's blessing. And you've seen the last few weeks, you can see it on the screen here in the bottom. The last few weeks we've been talking about and walking our way through the Beatitudes. Last week, we talked about that God blesses those who show mercy. And then it is such a blessing to be able to show mercy to others. And then this week, we are going to be studying verses 8 through 9. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. It says, God blesses those whose hearts are pure, for they will see God. God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called the children of God. Now, I know there are two ideas here that we need to focus on, and so here's what they are. God blesses those with pure hearts, and God blesses those who are working for peace. And if we want to put that simply, working for peace, you can call that being a peacemaker. Some other translations say peacemaker. Now, often when people read this passage, I think being a peacemaker sounds a lot cooler than being pure-hearted, and so they just kind of focus on that peacemaker side. Like if you think about the name Peacemaker, that kind of sounds like a nickname for a guy in like an old Western movie who's dealing out justice with his fists and a 6-shooter, which obviously is ironic because that's like the opposite of peace. But really what it truly means to be a peacemaker is someone who is actively seeking to bring peace to conflict. Now, I want to clarify something here. Seeking peace is not the same as running from conflict. Some of you love conflict, probably too much. You, egg on your friends when they're in an argument with somebody, or you like to stir up drama, almost like throwing gasoline on a fire. What if instead of adding to an argument between your friends, you were willing to step in and try to help them understand each other's side? What if you started working for peace? Working for peace means going towards tension and conflict, not running from it, and doing it the right way. Some of you in the room maybe feel like you're good peacemakers because you never have fights with your friends, and I hear this one all the time, maybe you pride yourself on the fact that you and your boyfriend never argue. That's not peace. That's never having hard conversations. Working for peace isn't about being aggressive or in looking for fights, but it's also not about running from fights either. But it's about being willing to say, we've been hurt, or we see hurt, seeing the need for forgiveness, seeing the need for resolution, asking for forgiveness, and showing it. Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, if another believer sins against you, go privately and point out the offense. And if the person listens and confesses it, you have won back that person. What Jesus is basically telling us is that peace requires hard conversations. The thing about hard conversations is that it's not an aggressive act. It's an act of love, an act of caring for somebody because you're saying, hey, we are not at peace. I want peace back with you. Now that's the issue. We either run from hard conversations or we have them too aggressively. Why? Because we don't like to do things that are hard. Our hearts are always, they're always leading us to seek our own interests and to focus on what is most comfortable for who? For me, right? And for some of us, that's aggressively speaking about our hurt or from our hurt and addressing those who have wronged us with the goal of trying to hurt them the way that we are hurting, not making peace. And for others, it's having a conversation with someone and confronting them. And that's difficult and even scary. And so we would just rather be non-confrontational people. But the truth is that both choices are not how God is calling us to handle conflict. He's calling us to face conflict with a love and a desire to bring peace with our brothers and sisters. But in order to do that, in order to do what we know is hard, our hearts have to be in the right place. And that's where the other part of the passage, but in verse 8 in Matthew chapter 5 comes in, because Jesus calls us to have pure hearts. Purity of heart is not the same as perfection. No one can be perfect, but what this is speaking to is the condition of our hearts. Our hearts have a bigger impact on our lives than we realize, and we often think of the heart only as like a romantic thing or in a romantic sense, but the truth is that the heart leads what we do. Show of hands in the room. Whose mom has told them to clean their room in the last week? Okay. All right. How many of y'all actually did it? What? No way. Why didn't you do that? I want you to think about that for a minute. Why didn't you? Because your heart wasn't in it. You don't want to clean your room. You'd rather continue to hang out with your friends or sleep or watch TV. What your heart wants is going to lead what you do. Your heart leads your actions. What our heart is focused on impacts what we desire to do and how far we are willing to go. Even when doing hard things like hard conversations. It's like this. Y'all know what this is? Yes, this is a steering wheel. No, it does not go to a real car. This is one of my children's steering wheel. They would be very angry if they knew that I had this. Look, it's got little sounds. But what this steering wheel is that it controls a car. A real steering wheel does that, right? It controls a car. Where it turns, the car is gonna follow. So if I turn left, which way is the car going? Left. If it turns right, it's gonna go right. And the steering wheel is like my heart. My heart turns towards something and then my actions will follow. A pure heart is not a perfect heart, but rather it is one that is turned towards the things of God. We all want to follow God, but our hearts are turning towards a lot of things that get in the way. Some of y'all want to have a pure heart for God, but our sports teams, they're taking priority always. Think about what you do whenever you have a tournament. Are you going to church or are you going to that tournament? Or maybe you'd rather sleep in than go to church on time, and all of a sudden you've missed 3 weeks of church because you keep trying to sleep in. Or man, I can't go to camp or to Revive because then I'd be away from my boyfriend or my girlfriend too long. We say we want God, but we are turning our hearts in the opposite direction. And that's because our hearts are deceitful and seek sinful, selfish things. The truth is we need a different kind of heart. And if we want pure hearts, we need God's heart. If I want a heart that is pure, I want one that has the right motivations. I want a heart that desires to work for peace, to have hard conversations, to be humble, to forgive, to care for the broken. I need a heart like God. So how do I do that? Well, the Bible tells us that as well. Later on in the Sermon on the Mount, in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, I'm going to actually show you from the NIV translation. Jesus says this. He says, but seek what? First, not second, not fifth. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness. And when we seek God first, our hearts will follow His. When we follow Him first in our lives, with our priorities and with our time and with our own hearts, we will find our hearts become pure in their pursuit of Jesus and His work in our lives. It is only through Christ that we can have pure hearts and do difficult things like make peace. So you're about to go back into your groups, and I want you to think, man, where do I need to start being a peacemaker? Where do I need to start going towards the conflict? Not in anger, but with a desire to bring resolution, whether it's with somebody else or between other people. But before we can do that, where do our hearts need to be more like God's? Love you guys. We'll see y'all later.